Welcome to Dave's Recent Things. My name is Dave, and today I've had so many requests for number one, a daisy wreath, and number two, a wreath using the wreath boards. So I'm going to combine the two today and make a daisy wreath using a wreath board. Why don't I just get started and I'll show you how I put it all together. This is a wreath board from Unique and the Creek. Now, they do come at the dollar store as well. Now, this is an entire kit that I bought, and the kit comes with one of those large wreath boards, two white and one green 10-inch by 10 yards deco mesh. Now, this mesh here has kind of a metallic to it. The other one is a poly mesh with the white. And then included in the kit is this really cute daisy center. I just love how that came out in the back of it as styrofoam. They also have these cable ties in a bag, along with a couple of clothespins and some wire cutters. That's just incredible. And the cutest thing, this little ladybug on a wire. And also a little pipe cleaner to attach our wreath center. And this little gadget here, I'll tell you all about it later on, but I think it's the best invention since mankind. I don't know what this is. I don't know what you call it, but I love it. The only thing you're going to need other than the kit is a pair of scissors. So again, this is a kit that comes from Unique in the Creek. I purchased it here in Canada for a total with shipping of $54. I thought it was a great deal for this wreath. And this is our Unique in the Creek board. And you'll see there's holes all throughout and, separated together. And then on the flip side, which is the inside, you'll see there's numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And basically for us, we are going to start at the number 2 and work our way inwards. Okay, so that's this outline right here. That's the row that we're going to work on with the pairing of the holes. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to prep our wreath board with these cable ties. And all you're going to do is the two holes on the second row that are closest to each other. In one of the holes, you're going to put the cable tie in, wrap it around the other side, and bring it through the other hole. And then you're going to attach them. Now, you're not going to pull the cable tie all the way. You're just going to pull a little bit to hear those first couple of clicks, and then you're going to leave it. So there's creating a little loop there. You can kind of see it. That is our first little loop, and that's looking at it from the back side. So now we're going to move on to the next pair on the right-hand side there. Again, we're just going to feed it through one end, almost like you're sewing, and then pull it back, and then feed it through the little square head until you hear the first couple of clicks, and then you're going to create a little loop for that. And just leave those ends there for now. Don't chop them off because you're going to be needing them to pull through. And all I'm going to do for row number 2 is the exact same thing, just going to repeat that process over and over again, feeding the cable tie through, creating my loops until I come to the very last. And row number 2 is all done. Now we're going to go to row number 3, and it's a little bit different. So it has ones close together, and then it has ones in the middle. So we're going to do the 2 pairs together. We're going to leave the single and then do the 2 pairs again. So it's the same method that we used in row number 2. You're going to feed it through, turn it around, pull it through the back, and then close off that cable tie, leaving a loop. Now we're going to skip this single hole, and we're going to move on to the next pair, and so on and so forth, creating our loops. So we created the loops in the pair, we're going to skip. Now we're going to create a loop in the other pair, skip, and so on and so forth. That's going to be for the entire row number 3. And just working on my last one here. Now it's time to come into row number 4. And again, we see those pairings. We did the first, second, third row, and the pairings here on that 4th row is what we're going to start with. And we're going to do the exact same thing. And you will notice row number 1, we do leave blank. I will show you later on what we do. So now we are on row number 5, which is going to be our last row that we're going to fill in. And we're going to do those pairs exactly the same way as we did before. The 2 holes in the center, that's where we're going to put our daisy center, that yellow pollen whatever you call it. I don't know what they call the center of the flower. If you know, leave me a comment down below and let me know. So here we go. You can see all of our loops are created on our wreath board. It looks beautiful and nice and clean in the back. And again, our first row is all empty. And you see the two holes at the top there? That's where you can hang it. You put a little loop there as well, and you can hang that off your door. I'll show you that later on as well. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more onto our fourth row. So you'll see here, this is the fourth row, but we're going to add a little bit more. What we're going to do is we are actually going to use those two holes right there for everything. So we're going to use the two holes that have been used and connect them together. So again, we're just going to feed the cable tie through. And then with the other hole that's filled, so we're going to use shared holes really. And then you pull it through and you clip it together. And what that's going to do is that's going to create a fuller center in that area. So again, we're going to use the two paired together, then we're going to share, two paired together, and share. So I'm going to keep doing that over and over again. And again, this is just for the fourth row. It's going to create a little cluster of petals, if you will, really. It's going to make it beautiful. Trust the process, trust the process. So again, we're just finishing off, putting my cable ties into that fourth row. And when I flip it over, you can kind of see here, this is the right way up. Now I've got my loops, and if you flip it over, you can see that that fourth row has all the holes filled, while on the first, second, and third row and fifth row, we have some empty spots. So we're not sharing those holes, but only the fourth row. But there you go. So our wreath form is all done. Now it is time to cut this beautiful poly mesh. This is the white, it's 10 inch by 10 yards. And for this, I am going to do 10-inch lengths. So I am starting at my 10-inch mark and I'm going to cut at my 20-inch mark, and that's going to be 10 inches. I'm just going to take my rotary cutter, press down firmly, and I end up with roughly a 10 by 10 square of my Polymesh in white. And I'm just going to keep doing this. You are going to need a total of 44 10-inch pieces in the white. So I'm going to continue on until I have the 44, and then I'm going to cut my 10-inch pieces in the green. This is going to be for the leaves, and I'm going to cut 6 pieces at 10 inches for that. Now it's time to create our petal. We have the manufactured end at the top and at the bottom, and the cut ends on the right and the left-hand side. Flip it a little bit to create a diamond. Take your top corner and fold it to the bottom corner. Hold that there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to create a little triangle. Hold your thumb down like an anchor and your index finger kind of at the top in the middle and push out. So that's going to create a little stretch. Then grab the corner at the right, fold it down to where your thumb is. Grab the other corner and fold it towards the center point until you create a little loop there. It's kind of the shape that we're going for, a triangle with a little loop. And then I'm just going to turn it to the side, come in a couple of inches, and I'm just going to bunch it together. And that's going to create your little petal. And it's got that loop on the inside. And what we're going to do is we're going to start on row number 2. So that's the second row in. And we're going to feed our mesh through that cable tie loop. We're going to hold it in place. And then once we get it to where we want it, I'm just going to really tighten that cable tie. And that is our first petal in our daisy wreath. And I'm just going to clip off the extra now because we don't necessarily need it. And the cute thing about Unique in the Creek is their plastic cable ties are made from recycled products and are recyclable. So you can throw those in the recycling bin. Here we go with our second piece. We're going to fold it down, creating that triangle, anchor the thumb, And then you're going to push out, stretching that deco mesh, fold in the right hand side. We're going to bring that left hand side over again. We're going to look to create that little loop and petal shape. And then we're going to turn it and squish it together. And then we've just created another petal. And then we just move to the next cable tie over. That loop there, we're going to feed it through, and you're going to close that cable tie nice and tight so that petal doesn't release or doesn't go anywhere. And we're just going to chop off the extra, throw that plastic, you recycled plastic in the recycling bin because it's recyclable. And here we go. We are on the roll. I'm going to work on the outside now. I'm going to do the same procedure to make the petals over and over again, folding, folding, squishing, folding, tying the cable ties over again. So now I am done my first row, and another little handy dandy tool that came in the kit was this cable tie cutter or wire cutter. You can use those, you can use scissors, whichever you choose. Now it's time, we're going to move one row inward and do the second row. So again, we're going to make our petals over and over again, squish them all together, and this time we're going to move to the second row, and we're going to feed that deco mesh through the loop, and that's going to create our second row of petals. And you can do this over and over again. You tie that cable tie nice and tight. You just pull it. You'll hear those clicking sounds until you can't pull it anymore. Grab our handy dandy little tool and just chop off that excess there. And our second row of petals is now coming along. So now all we're going to do is fold and fold and fold until we fill up that second row. Our second row is all done now. You can see it filling in. I'm just loving how this looks, and I'm having a great time doing this. I absolutely love doing this. So now we're going to go one more row in. So this is going to be our third row of petals, but it's the fourth row. We have all of the holes filled. So these are the ones with the shared cable ties as well. And we're going to do the same thing over and over, feed it through, pull that cable tie nice and tight so that petal doesn't go anywhere. And then we're going to cut off the excess. I like cutting the excess off as I go. If you wanted to do it at the very end of you completing the row, by all means, you can totally do that as well. And if you want, what I'm going to show you here is just a little trick that you can do is you can take one of those clear small elastics that you can find at the dollar store. There it is right there. You can just tie that around. You can either do one tie or two. It's totally up to you. I just do one. And then I'm going to hold that end and chop off the excess. And what that's going to do is that's going to create a little more room as you get closer to the center of the wreath where everything's going to get really bunched up. Around the edge, whereas like the row 2 and row 3, it doesn't necessarily get so congested. But as soon as we hit row 4, because we're doing every single cable tie there with a lot of deco mesh, we can cut it off. And it just cleans it up a little bit and gives us a little bit more room to work with and fit our fingers in. There's a little bit of a close up so you can see how clean it looks. And I just continue on with that row, and you'll see that row is totally full. And now we're going to work on that fifth row, which is only 4 petals left. And then again, those 2 center holes, that is where we are going to put the center of our daisy. And I'm just kind of laying everything out, seeing how everything looks, make sure it's nice and even. And here we go with creating our petals again for that 5th and final row. What do you guys think of this little kit package from Unique in the Creek? Isn't it really cool? I just love it. And you know what? For the price, I was really happy with it. And it shipped here within, I would have to say, 5 business days at the most. It was here really, really quick. So I was really, really excited. And there is all of our petals all put into place. And just look at this. I am loving it. And I hope you're enjoying this as well. Let's make a couple of leaves. Now here's the green mesh that we cut, and it's curled side down. We're going to put the manufactured side to the left and the right, and then I'm just going to squinch it in the middle. And that's all I'm going to do. So it creates a little flimsy bow tie shape. And then I'm going to find my center again because I was off center a little bit. Use those paper clips, or not paper clips, what are they called? Clothespins. Use the clothespins to hold it in place and do the same thing for our second piece of deco mesh. And now we have the two pieces all together. Now, if you put them like this, it's going to create like a big bow tie. So what you want to do is you want to turn them around and overlap them just a little bit such that the bend and the fold are naturally together. Does that make sense? And now what we're going to do is now we're going to use the outside holes. So what you're going to do is you're just going to feed through your cable tie, but you're not going to tie it just yet. You can kind of see it just hanging on there, and you're just eventually going to tie that like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to unclip our leaves, and then my good side is facing up, so I'm going to turn that facing down. Our wreath is facing down, and then I am just going to fold it over, create a little loop. You'll see right there. And then I'm going to feed the cable tie through the loop, and I'm going to hold it with my left hand while I push that deco mesh on top of, or underneath at this point, our wreath board. And then we just tie that cable tie nice and tight, and that's going to hold the leaves right in place. Chop off the extra with our little handy dandy tool. Flip it over to see what it looks like, and then I just fiddle around and unfold that deco mesh that's all creased in there. And I just love how those leaves turned out. So I'm going to do this 2 more times, the same procedure over and over again. And I do 3 clusters. You don't have to do 3. You can do as many or as little as you want. But I decided to do 3 clusters on this. And now we are finished with our daisy wreath. Moving on to the center, here's that handy dandy little, I don't even know what you call this. It's like a plastic little doohickey thing, and you can feed pipe cleaner right through the center. It's got a hole there. Now, all I'm going to do is take off that sticky backing. I'm going to use some hot glue just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And then I'm going to turn my center piece over facing down. It's got plain styrofoam in the back, and then I'm just going to press and hold that in place. And like I said, I don't know what this is called, where they got it, but this is such an amazing and unique idea. I wish I could find these all over the place. Your pipe cleaner just goes right in the holes. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right in the center so I know that pipe cleaner is not going to go anywhere. But isn't that the coolest thing? So here's our 2 center holes. Now that's where we're going to feed those pipe cleaners through, and that's where our center is going to be attached. So you just feed those pipe cleaners right through the center, hold them through at the back, and then I'm going to hold it, flip it over, and then I'm just going to tie those pieces right at the back just to make sure everything's centered and everything's right. Before I tie it all together, I flip it over one last time, and now I'm just going to tie it tightly, a couple of twists with that pipe cleaner, and then I'm going to grab my scissors, chop it off, and then I add a little hot glue so I know it doesn't come undone. I'm going to let that dry, and then once it's all dry, we're going to flip it over. Voila. I love how that yellow just pops against the white. And our little friend, the ladybug, I decided not to put it on the wire. So I took it off the wire and it comes off nice and easily. I'm going to add some hot glue. I'm going to kind of try and decide where I want it, whether I want it on the petals or the center. And I do eventually decide just to put it on the center. And I'm just going to hold that in place for a little bit until it dries with our little ladybug. And here is our daisy wreath. I am just so in love with this wreath. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed making this wreath, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Don't forget, check out Unique in the Creek. They are a Canadian wreath company, wreath supply company. They do have kits. At the time that I made this video, they did have the kits still available, but I know they do have some fall ones coming out as well. I will link everything down below. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you had so much fun. I know I did. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye for now.